Hey, it's your boy Chango coming at you with another video. This video is Louis C.K. and Theo talk about their dads. Brought to you by Theo Von Clips. Alright, I did the other one where they were talking about Joe Rogan. I enjoyed it. I was able to see a different side of Louis C.K. versus him just doing stand-up, right? Like I said, I'm fairly new to Louis C.K., so let's get right into it.
I wouldn't have traded my dad for other dads. I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I did like that. I do feel lucky that I had a weird dad, that I had an unusual father. My mom used to say that he's not boring, and it makes you who you are. I mean, you have a very specific background and a very, very, a very rare upbringing, and that's a great thing for you now.
Right. Yeah. At the time, it felt painful, but now I realize, wow, this was all part of the plan.
That's right.
We had that. Now, I did admire like that Magnum PI dad with the fucking just the hair coming up around the bottom of the shorts. Like the hair was like trying to get back up to his mustache, It was like, this hair has a plan.
That's
like,
right.
Fucking dude, and we had to go out there and push this one dude. Glenn, his dad, had that big dish, that direct TV dish.
Oh yeah, sure.
We had to push that bitch to get the porn, so we'd have to go out there and fucking, you had to earn it,
Wow, yeah.
And we'd have to get that Cinemax, and we'd fucking put your shoulder into it, or you couldn't come.
My father's an odd guy, and he sat me down. And he said, I think my mother told me you need to talk to him. Oh. I had three older sisters. I was the only boy. So she said, you need to talk to him. And what he told me was, he said, when you have sex with a woman, you need to make her desire you. So you enter her. He just skipped all the how it works. He just said you enter her a little bit. You just barely touch her. And then you come out. And you withhold. He was Mexican, and he had a weird sort of traditional. He'd say, and then you make her beg and beg, and then you go in again, and you go only a little.
Nice,
bit, and
I
you
like
just
it.
Come out again, and you keep withholding until she can't stand it, and only then do you really penetrate her, and she'll come like a rocket. Like he taught me how to make a woman come. He wasn't wrong,
Right.
He wasn't wrong. Yeah. But I think you need to tell a little kid some other shit before you get to how to make a middle-aged woman come.
Yeah, that's
you know
crazy.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what he was like. He was very narcissistic, and
Wow. Yeah,
who taught you about sex? I mean, did you have? I'm asking the same question. A mentor?
Yeah, thanks for asking, man. My dad was 70 when I was born, so my dad was an older guy.
Yeah.
And so he
fucking wild.
he would always tell me he had dated chicks' grandmothers that were in my class and stuff like that. And he would show me poems that he had written, and they were on paper that was disintegrating. It was it was.
Also, he was teaching you about romance.
Yeah, my dad was more of a romancer.
That's nice.
So he was teaching me about romance, but nothing about sex. One time I saw him, I think he had cancer or something, but he was walking down the hall, and I thought he was going to have, he'd had a new girlfriend, and we were at her house. She had a nice house, and she made all this beef brisket or whatever. I'd never even seen it, blew my fucking mind.
Yeah. Just were your parents married?
They were married till I was 7, and then they got divorced.
And did he have kids before with other women?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had 3 other children.
Okay, so now you're how old?
I'm maybe, at this point, I was probably 12.
And you saw him somewhere, and he had another girlfriend.
Yeah. And
fed
she
you
let us
brisket.
stay at her house.
You'd
Yeah.
only ever had bologna and cola cuts or something.
Oh, I'd never had brisket.
No, of course not.
I mean, I never even couldn't imagine it. And then he was walking down the hall, and I thought he was going to have sex, but it was at nighttime, and I would sleep on the living room couch. And then he literally he was sick, and he defecated all over himself, and it was one of the scariest and craziest
Holy
things that ever
shit.
happened. Because I remember watching him and thinking, wow, my dad's going to be with this lady, and she was wealthy, and I don't even know why she even liked us, but she did. And then he was sick, you know. And then I was so afraid to try to go to help or anything because he was like, he had cancer and he was getting real sick. I didn't know.
Wow.
But it was anyway. That story took kind of a weird turn, but
Yeah, it did.
that's just life, you know.
But
It's
yeah,
It was like a moment where there was just a lot of life at
But
once.
so one interesting way you put it is you say what she didn't know why she liked us. So you and your dad were like a unit. You were like a team. Like so, when he left, when your mom and him divorced, you went with dad.
No, I stayed with my mom, but I always felt like my dad was just more loving.
Yeah,
My mom has like kind of like an emotional kind of autism. Like she can't
Yeah.
like show you affection, kind of.
that's hard. Yeah,
And
there's a lot of parents like that. It's hard.
is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So it was just kind of like, but she's a hard worker and stuff. But anyway, it was so then, and I was kind of infatuated by my dad because nothing he did, he was older, so everything was off a little. It didn't
Yeah.
make sense. And it was kind of, I think it was more fascinating, you know, being around him.
Yeah, I felt that way about my dad a little bit because he wasn't like any of my friends' dads. He was a strange guy. He was a Mexican and
Did he
very
look
serious
Mexican?
dude. Yeah, a bit like a European Mexican. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different kinds of Mexicans. I lived there till I was about 7.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, he was weird. So I kind of I was fascinated by him, but he didn't show much interest. I just remember him always looking at his eye level. Like he didn't look down at me much. I just always looked up at his face, and he was looking that way.
Wow.
And
What does
it's-
that do to you?
Well, it's hard, but I feel more bad for him because he was alone up there. I didn't think about that. I do now because
Yeah.
he's, very, very old and in a chair like this, and he's alone. No, we don't go see him much, me and my sisters.
Yeah.
And my mom, I mean, when she died, and in her last year of life, when she was, we were like there and kept her in our houses and took care of her till the last second. She had us all around her, never alone, because she was a loving person, and she, you wanted to be with her.
Oh, wow.
But my dad was all fucked up in his own head, and he was, narcissism is like it's a sickness.
Yeah.
And it's isolating, and it's very sad. I feel bad for him now. I'm able to feel bad for him because he was. It was painful to be his kid, physically and mentally. So, but I'm past that. 55 years. It takes a long time to,
Were you
be able to
surprised how
see
long
things.
it took to get past that kind of stuff? Because I find it's interesting. A lot of our audience is like kind of guys that kind of like are still figuring things out. It's kind of like a lot of late bloomers,
Yeah.
I think, and no judgment to any of the listeners, but yeah, I think a lot of young men are stuck in this time where it's like, yeah, it's almost like you're figuring your shit out, your parents' shit out. It's like it's almost come to like this kind of like curve in the pipe where it's like we got to kind of figure this shit out in here.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's hard. I don't think you can rush it. I think
Yeah.
it happens later because something comes loose. It just does. It's nothing you can figure out. It's nothing where you can go, oh. I mean, you think about it once in a while. And also you spend a lot of life avoiding it, right? So, like when I was a young dad and stuff, I just pushed my dad away. I just didn't want to think about him.
That's crazy. So real quick, I didn't realize that Theo's dad was 70 when he had him. Holy wow. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that make Theo Theo. But that has to be like a big reason why he is the way he is. Holy wow, 70 years old. See, I can kind of relate because your boy Chango was adopted, and I was adopted by my grandparents, and they were old, but even then they weren't 70. I mean, they were like in their 60s. I mean, I guess close enough. And so your boy Chango, if you think I'm a little bit different, I'm sure that has something to do with it, right? But everybody's different, right? Everybody has their own story. But Theo is especially unique, right? And another thing, Louis C.K., he's Mexican. He's my people. Okay. Fucking learn something new every day, right? Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay. So, anyways, let's carry on.
decided he didn't matter anymore for years. And like when I was little, I remember he was spanking me once, which is now to me a really odd thing, is a man's hand spanking a fucking bare ass of a child, a little bony. I can't fathom it now.
Yeah, put pants on that kid.
Yeah, man, what are you doing? It's really gay and weird and upsetting.
Yeah.
But I remember being spanked so fucking hard, like it was like blackout spank. Like I can't handle this. And I remember thinking to myself, I think I was about 9. I thought the day I get a wallet, like that was the magical thing. The day I get a wallet with that money in it and cards and that set of keys, the second I have that, I ain't never going to look at this person again in my life. I'm getting away from this guy as soon as I have those. That's all you need.
So you had a lot. It really.
Yeah, I really didn't like being around him. And my mother divorced him when I was 10. So then I had a lot of years just with mom where he was around and he would ask for attention sometimes, and I wasn't afraid of him anymore, but he made me uncomfortable. I didn't like being around him. There's a lot of good things about my dad, and I owe him a lot.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and
he created you.
He did, and he also devoted a lot of life to, you know, he was Mexican, and our family in Mexico, they do okay, and they have some influence, and they have, you know, he had a better life there, but he moved to America. It's sort of the opposite of most immigrants, that he went from Mexico where he was pretty well established to America where he had no tools to survive and where he didn't get the culture. But he did it because my mom was the strong one in the family. My mom worked really hard, and she raised us and supported us.
Wow.
So he is picking my mom instead of somebody in Mexico, and that's how I got to be in the land of opportunity. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting, man. How a lot of times it's a previous generation had to kind of take an L. They had to like really.
That's right.
So that you could have it. You know,
it's hard to imagine. Imagine that in your own life. I'm going to do something shitty.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to move to Toledo so my son can...
Nah, fuck you, kid.
Yeah.
Good luck. I'm going to do something. I'm going to go to Vegas and just keep trying to win.
Yeah, I'd rather sell my ass on the internet.
Yeah, fuck that.
Take my chances.
You know, you got to make some sacrifices for the kids. Because I can tell you right now, your boy Chongo would not be here. I'd be overseas somewhere if it wasn't for the kids, right? I got kids to raise, and as soon as they turn 18, maybe it'll be a little bit different, right? But you know, you gotta make some sacrifices sometimes, and it's up to you whether or not it's worth it, right? So let's carry on.
So I went through years of like not wanting to think about him, and then once in a while I would check in with him and see maybe we have something, and he'd feel the same, and I don't want it, and he didn't even seem interested sometimes, and that was shitty. But then, and my mom meanwhile took care of him. After they divorced, she kept, because he was kind of a mess. And I learned from watching my mom do all the way to the end. You know, my mom, when she was dying, she provided for him and stuff. And I learned about her from that. And I asked her about it because she had no reason to be with the guy anymore. They had been divorced since I was 10, and now, you know, this was a few years ago. And she said, I want to send a message to him she was leaving him some money. She said that I want to send him a message that he's not alone in the world. Now that I'm gone, somebody gives a shit about him. And because that's a promise she made him when she married him, and even though they divorced, she's still honored that promise, even though he didn't stay to his side or whatever. And so that helped me. Like that was a role model for me, my mom, later in life. And then after she died, I was about to say left. After she left me. By ceasing to breathe.
Yeah, that's crazy. Some guys probably think that.
Yeah,
too, like,
fuck you, Mom.
Yeah,
I needed you, bitch.
Yeah.
After she died, my sister and I, who were at her a memorial we had for her, and he came, and neither of us had seen him for a long time.
Wow.
And we were talking. We were standing in a room talking about we should where are we going to put him so we don't have to be near him. And then he walked up with a cane, and we were both like, "Fuck." Come here, and we sat with him, and then we had this interesting affection for him because Mom is gone. She would have wanted us to be good to him, and he was so weak, and I just felt bad for him and I felt a tenderness for him. So I go to see him once in a while in this place where he lives. And the last time I saw him, I let go of everything. It just all went away. And now I just feel this tenderness. I just feel so sorry for the guy. All that's left, all anger and guilt, all those bad feelings, they burn away with time. They all burn away completely. And so I'm just left with I'm sort of fascinated by him now. I look at when he struggles to talk, and I look at his face and watch it struggle, and I feel for him, Anyway, long answer, sorry, but
No, but it's kind of a beautiful answer. It's about how life is, It's like, it's funny when you go back to see like kind of the dragon, whatever the dragon is, and time has affected it and it's changed. And
yeah, it's all time. It's for your listeners that struggle with it, it's like you can't rush it. And it's okay if you have blocks and stuff. You can trust yourself a little bit. You know what I mean? You'll get there. You'll get there when it's time.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of I was ashamed of my dad a lot. I think because of his age, and so I think for a while I had some issues with that. But even over time, that kind of went away. You notice how I would kind of probably look at him, or I would introduce him to people as my grandfather. There's little things that it's like. I start to think, well, I wonder how that affected him, or I don't know. It's interesting, man. I just love all that kind of stuff, like how people relate to one another, and especially from our parents growing up.
Did you wish you had a dad like other kids' dads that were younger and stronger and more dad-like, or more...
A little bit, but then one dude's, his dad held up the ready-made with a shotgun for pills, So it was like. My dad just bought a Cutlass, a Delta 88. Remember those cars?
Yeah, sure. I remember them well, yeah.
And pull one up, Zach.
Long car.
Yeah, it was, well, he had a
long kind of rectangular car, wasn't it?
Well, some of the early ones were.
Bolts.
He had a good LTD, too, for a while.
Yeah, those were that hood.
Oh, those are sick, dude.
It was so warm in there.
Crazy.
There were always 4 cats in there.
Yeah, sure.
And they would stay in while we drove somewhere. It was
those cars floated too, man. They were comfortable.
Boats.
Oh yeah,
I loved cars like that.
Oh, I feel like you get 6 blocks and you're pregnant in that bitch.
Yeah, that was a dad car when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But then when I was in high school, everybody would have those. Kids would have those. And they'd spray paint them, whatever, with cans of spray paint.
Yeah.
And they were badass fucking cars. I mean, the bumper is this thick and it's pure steel.
It was fucking.
It was made of iron. That car.
Oh, they were so good.
About 3 miles to the gallon.
My dad bought his off a couple brothers that lived around the corner in our neighborhood,
3
and
miles
so it had
to the
these big
gallon.
speakers in it, right? And so he would drive, and he couldn't even hear, right? They had 22s in the trunk, and so he would be listening to Paul Harvey and whatever that is, NPR or something.
Yeah.
It was with
NPR?
or maybe it's just Paul Harvey. What is that?
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. But.
Good day. Remember that guy on the radio?
Oh yeah, okay.
Or maybe it
yeah.
was Rush Limbaugh, right?
Oh, he listened to Rush. Okay, Rush Limbaugh and NPR are very different.
Oh, they are? So
Yeah.
he would listen to Rush Limbaugh or those guys. And then it would be but it would be with bass, right?
Uh-huh.
So he would just be driving around, fucking listening to insane,
with a real bottom to it. Rush Limbaugh.
It was unbelievable. And he
Yeah.
always had this his car was just stacked with just bullshit. Cause my dad got this job going to he would go to college and sign people up for credit cards, that guy or whatever.
Oh.
And that was one of the first places he would take me there with him when I was 11 or 12. He even let me drive him because he was fucking at that point he's 82.
Wow.
So as soon as I was about 5, maybe 6 or 7, he let me drive him over there. And then I would stand on the table and bark at people to come over and get the credit card thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's where some of my first semblance of getting on stage or saying stuff or whatever kind of came from. But yeah, that kind of stuff, man. I love thinking about growing up and what happened and how it affects us now. Hope you enjoyed that video, and you can watch another, and you can watch this one.
Fucking Theo Von, fucking Louis C.K. for the win. Wow. So that explains a lot, why they are the way they are, right? And I like that, right? I like getting a glimpse into people's lives, right? That's why, you guys might have heard me in my other videos where I talked about how, I wouldn't mind being a bartender, right? if you've been at my bar 5 days in a row, and it's like 11 o'clock in the morning or some shit, and you're there every day, like, I want to hear your story, right? Like, that shit's just fascinating. Like, where did you go wrong, right? Like, that's crazy. And especially if someone's my age, right? I'm 41. If I meet another 41-year-old and we're completely different, I want to know why. I'm just curious like that, right? But yeah, having a 70-year-old dad, and like he was 70 when you were born, that means when you're 18, he's 88. He probably wasn't even around by the time he graduated high school. Like, that's wild, right? God, that's insane. Yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit more serious. Your boy Chano likes fucking goofy shit, right? But I enjoyed this, right? Like, Louis C.K., like I said, I'm new to him, so I've been able to see like how dark he gets in a lot of like crazy shit that he says. But this kind of gives you an idea of why, right? Why, like, there's a reason for the madness, right? But all things being said, I hope you enjoyed this. Go ahead and like and subscribe, all that YouTuber stuff if you did. Notification bell, comment down below. Let me know what your upbringing was like. Like, what was that like, right? How old were your parents when you were born? Like, let's hear it, right? Let's hear it. Let your boy Chago know what shit was like. Anyways, that's all I got. You guys take care. Peace out.